ಉದ್ಘಾಟನಾ ಭಾಷಣ ಶ್ರೀ ಸುದಾತ್ತ Mandal ಅವರಿಂದ inaugural speech by Mr. Sudatta Mandal, SIDBI.
Namaskara. Wish you all a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Warm greetings from SIDBI to all of you. First of all, I'm happy to see that the Department of Industries and Commerce, Government of Karnataka, and the Karnataka Small Scale Industries Association, or KASIA, are collaborating with SIDBI to organize this outreach program on financial literacy. It is my privilege to inaugurate the first of its kind outreach program in Karnataka, which will be covering 31 districts of Karnataka and reaching at least 5,000 MSMEs through 21 similar events. MSMEs are the lifeline of any economy, and therefore the success of the MSME sector is vital to India's sustainable economic development, as the sector contributes around 30% of the country's GDP and over 45% of exports, besides playing a crucial role in employment generation in both rural and semi-urban areas. As you are aware, Government of India has set up ambitious vision of reaching the target of 40% MSMEs contributing to GDP by 2025 to support the US 5 trillion economic vision. To realize this vision, the MSMEs are expected to double their absolute contribution from almost US dollars to 0.9 trillion, or 30% of the current Indian GDP, to USD 2 trillion, that is 40% of the 2025 India GDP vision. To realize this vision, the Government of India has been formulating various policy measures, transformational digital initiatives, building infrastructure facilities across the nation to strengthen the MSME ecosystem and make them vibrant in realizing the vision of the Government of India. The MSMEs need to fire at a higher pace for the country to achieve the USD 5 trillion economy target by 2025. While recognizing the importance of MSMEs' contribution to the economy and their role in shaping the overall growth of our country, SIDBI, along with other stakeholders, including the central and state governments, is devising various ways and means to reach out to the MSMEs and creating an enabling and vibrant environment for the growth of the MSMEs. However, lack of awareness about these facilities is a matter of concern. The success lies in information dissemination and imparting knowledge about these initiatives at the grassroots level for successful implementation to ensure that the benefits reach the last mile. To accelerate the development of the MSME ecosystem in Karnataka in a structured and planned manner, SIDBI has signed an MOU with the Department of Industries and Commerce, Government of Karnataka. Under the MOU, SIDBI is acting as the MSME partner for the state of Karnataka to give impetus to the MSME ecosystem by working on designing of schemes, suggestions for modification to and improvements in schemes, enabling digital interventions for the benefit of MSMEs, infrastructure development and creation in Karnataka, and impact evaluation. The financial literacy program is being organized with the primary objective of empowering MSMEs across Karnataka. The program seeks to achieve this by raising awareness on formalization of MSMEs and facilitating credit linkage, market exposure, as well as expanding their customer base through digital presence, specifically utilizing the ONDC platform, etc., and other relevant means. The program is set to commence in this regard in this grand inaugural event centered around the thematic focus of creating opportunities, bridging gaps, embarking on a path to financial empowerment. I would like to touch upon some of the major initiatives taken by SIDBI that are aligned to boost the MSME ecosystem in the country, which have set the pace for MSME's journey towards unlocking their full potential and contributing to the vision of a USD 5 trillion economy. The first of those initiatives, the key initiatives by SIDBI, is the MSME formalization project, or the Udyam Assist platform. Now, all of you perhaps would be aware that the MSMEs in the country need to get themselves registered on the Udyam registration platform, right? And you are required to get an Udyam registration certificate. Increasingly, all the schemes of the state governments as well as the central government, which are applicable for the MSMEs, would be given to only those SMEs who have a valid Udyam registration certificate. As per the last census that was done, there are an estimated 6.5 crore MSMEs in the country. That number has significantly increased over the years, not only because of the increasing number of MSMEs coming into the marketplace, but also because of the traders being included in the definition of the MSMEs. But even if we were to consider the 6.5 crore MSME statistic, it is unfortunate that just about 1.5 crore MSMEs have actually got the Udyam registration certificate today, which means the remaining 5 crore MSMEs do not have an Udyam registration certificate and therefore are not formally recognized as MSMEs for them to then avail benefits on all the various state government and central government schemes for the MSMEs. So much so that the banks, though they lend to these enterprises, are not able to classify these loans as priority sector loans, and therefore they are not able to pass on that benefit to these entities. Now, one of the reasons why this Udyam registration certificate has not percolated down to the last mile is because, number one, of a self-registration process, because the MSMEs need to register themselves on this platform. Secondly, and more importantly, the primary document or identity which is required to get an Udyam registration number is your PAN number. Right? And we all would be aware that more than 95% of the MSMEs in the country are actually in the micro segment and not in the small or the medium segment. And many or most of these micro enterprises either do not have a PAN number, or even if they have a PAN number, they do not file their tax returns, right? Or may not be willing to share their PAN number for whatever reason. Now, the reason why this PAN number is required is for, as you would be aware, that for the MSMEs, as per the definition given under the MSMED Act, the definition is basis your investment in core plant and machinery and your turnover. Okay? So the information on the investment in core plant and machinery and your turnover is obtained from the ITR, the income tax return, which is fetched from the CBDT side, basis your consent and through your PAN number, and also your GST registration. In order to circumvent that problem, what SIDBI had proposed to the Ministry of MSME, which runs the Udyam registration portal, is that since there are multiple lenders in the country, including the banks, the NBFCs, the MFIs, who lend to these micro enterprises in the country, basis various other documents that they receive from them, they do a thorough due diligence and then establish whether that entity is a micro, small or medium entity. Let us have a platform which will not require the PAN number as a mandatory field, but the banks can upload the information, basis the information available with them as part of their due diligence for extending credit facilities to these entities and the KYC that they have done on these entities. And therefore, we call it an Udyam Assist platform, so that the micro enterprises do not have the need to register themselves, but it is through an assist mode where the regulated entities like the banks, financial institutions, the NBFCs and the MFIs, they upload the data on their client base, and through that the Udyam registration can get generated. It took us a lot of time for us to convince the Ministry of MSME to allow us to do this activity, and I'm happy to share with you that the Ministry of MSME has given the approval to SIDBI. They have designated SIDBI as the authorized agency to get this data and generate the Udyam registration through the Assist platform. So we have created a separate platform where the data can get uploaded by these regulated entities. We have instituted a dedupe checking basis Aadhaar number, which is the key identity number, so that there are no duplicate records, and then generate the Udyam registration certificate. The Ministry of MSME as well as the Reserve Bank of India have issued a clarification and a circular, and in fact the Ministry of MSME has issued this through a gazette notification, that the Udyam registration number obtained through the Udyam Assist platform will qualify for priority sector lending by the banks and other institutions. So we are now going ahead with this registration in a big way. We have already registered more than 65 lakh MSMEs in just a period of 2 months. And the idea is to at least get 2 crore micro enterprises registered on this platform by the end of this year. So that is the ambitious target that we have, and we are partnering with all the NBFCs and the MFIs and the banks in getting this Udyam registration certificate generated for all their clients, and therefore benefit the micro sector enterprises. And just for your information, there is a bulk upload facility also, so that individual data submission is not required. The regulated entities can upload their data in bulk, which is already available with them, which will get sanitized by the portal that we have created. the logic that we have created in the portal will sanitize that data, do a dedupe on that data to ensure that there are no duplicate records, there are no false records, and then issue the OTM registration certificate. And we have seen that the portal is working perfectly fine. And in the first iteration itself, when we had tested out the portal and the platform through a bulk upload facility, the OTM registration certificate was generated in 55 minutes. Right? So therefore, that digital tool gives me the power to generate the OTM registration certificate within a very short period of time, and therefore we have this ambitious target of generating at least 2 crore certificates in the financial year. The other initiative, which of course is not a SIDBI initiative, but we are very proud to be part of that initiative, is the ONDC platform. As you would be aware, ONDC is Open Network for Digital Commerce. I think there is a separate session today on the ONDC platform, so it will be spoken about in great detail. But just to give you a very a snapshot of what ONDC is all about, it is a first of its kind initiative that aims to democratize digital commerce, moving it from a platform-centric model to an open network. As you all know, e-commerce is growing rapidly in India, aided by the increasing penetration of internet and mobile phones. The ease of operations coupled with digital transformation and availability of wide variety of products at competitive prices has contributed to the growth of e-commerce transactions. However, e-commerce has been out of reach for the majority of sellers, artisans, especially from small towns. Further, these small sellers face several challenges in the current e-commerce landscape, such as high commission rates of e-commerce platforms, preferential treatment to the platform's own sellers, and lack of transparency in price fluctuations and processes. To bridge these gaps and to provide an alternative to platform-centric model, the government has developed a network known as Open Network for Digital Commerce, or ONDC, that aims to create a level playing field for all players. The Open Network is premised upon the core concepts of decentralization, openness, and user utility, ensuring greater discoverability, transparency, and interoperability between the key players, that is the seller and buyer. Now, coming back to the formalization project, though it is not there in my prepared speech, but I would like to share some additional information with you on the initiatives that SIDBI is taking. That after you get the Udyam registration number or certificate, what next? So what is it there for the micro enterprises who come on board and join the Udyam registration portal? So what we had done is that we are coming up with several products which will provide small unsecured credit facilities to these micro enterprises for their various financing requirements. One of the products is called the GST Sahai, which we have developed for the Government of India under the regulatory sandbox of RBI, which provides or which seeks to provide invoice financing facility, unsecured invoice financing facility to the micro enterprises. So if you have received a purchase order from a buyer, against that invoice that you have got, you can avail of finance, which is like a working capital for executing that order. And these can be small value finance being made available to the micro enterprises, totally unsecured facility. I don't need any security, any collateral, and it is purely digital. You don't have to visit any of my branches. You can do it. It's totally a contactless process. Basis the consent that you give for me to fetch your GST data from the GSTN and the GST network. And there are several fintechs in the country today who have developed various data analytic tools to analyze the data which is available in the public domain, like your IT returns, like your GST data, like your bank account statements, basis which they run an analytics and tell me what is the credit worthiness of that enterprise. So I really don't need for you to submit your audited annual accounts, which is certified by a chartered accountant or a statutory auditor. No such document is required. I just need the consent for me to access your GST, income tax, and the bank account statements, basis which this is a purely contactless, as I mentioned, a credit which can be dispensed and disbursed to you in hours, not even in days. Okay? So this, we had done the pilot project and established that the product is working in the regulatory sandbox, and now we have made that stack, technology stack, available to all the banks in the country. So we created this as a public good at our own expense, and we have given this technology stack to all the banks in the country. They are now, they have to accept that API, that stack, and then create their own business rule engine and their own product to come and give unsecured invoice financing facility to their customers. As a beginning to take the initiative, we are in the process of tying up with various anchors like the large buyers like the FMCG companies like Hindustan Unilever or Pidilite or Dabur, or Colgate, Palmolive, whoever. So we are tying up with all these large entities who have a lot of SME vendors. They procure from these SME vendors. So all these SME vendors of these large entities can now avail finance from SIDBI through this GST Sahay product. Right? In addition to that, we have a product called Prayas, where we reach out directly to the micro enterprises who have graduated from the JLG kind of a loan given by the microfinance institutions. How many of you are aware of how a microfinance institution works? Okay. Most of you perhaps are not micro enterprises here. You are small and medium enterprises, so you will perhaps not. They are micro? Okay, so you would be availing finance from the MFIs, microfinance institutions? You don't. What is the reason for that?
They don't listen us.
Okay. So what is the alternate source of financing for you?
Nationalized bank.
Okay, okay. So maybe you are perhaps the upper layer or the creamy layer of the micro enterprises, but there are enterprises at the very grassroots level, at the village level, for example, who generally take credit from the microfinance institutions because they have a very huge network in the hinterlands of the country. So the microfinance institutions generally lend under the JLG model, which is called Joint Liability Group. So they create a group of 3, 4 or 5 micro enterprises and then provide credit facility to them, where there is a peer kind of a pressure involved in servicing of that debt. But there are certain micro enterprises who have graduated from that joint liability group model and they are now seeking an individual loan in their individual capacity. That is the segment which is not catered to either by the banks or the microfinance institutions or the NBFCs. And that is the segment which is called very fashionably today as the missing middle segment. And so SIDBI has come up with a product where we provide finance directly to these micro enterprises. And these are very small enterprises where the ticket size is between say 1 lakh to 50,000 to 3 lakh rupees. Right? So small ticket size loans are being provided directly by SIDBI to these enterprises in association and in partnership with these microfinance institutions. But we onboard these clients on our own books. I take the entire risk on my books and I provide credit directly to them. So we are extending this product now and tying up with various other players in the market. For example, we are working with, are you aware of the Jan Aushadhi Kendras? Right? So Jan Aushadhi Kendras also require finance, particularly working capital finance, for sourcing the medicines from the centralized agency, procurement and dispersal agency, and then sell it to the customers in the villages and the small towns. So we are now tying up with the central procurement agency which procures the medicines, the generic medicines from the OEMs and then supplies to these Jan Aushadhi Kendras, in providing credit to these Jan Aushadhi Kendras at a very small level, which will be again without any collateral free credit facility to these Jan Aushadhi Kendras. In addition to that, we are in the process of developing a product. It will take us some time to do that, but I'm happy to share with you that we are working on a revolving credit, unsecured revolving credit to these very micro and nano enterprises of even say 10,000, 20,000 rupees. For example, if you have a vegetable vendor on the street, he does not need lakhs of rupees of credit. He perhaps needs 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees as working capital, and his working capital cycle may be say 2 days, 3 days, 5 days or a week. Right? So we are trying to see if we can provide unsecured working capital facilities through the UPI system to these nano enterprises basis the Udyam registration number that is being generated. Right? So there are a variety of products that we are trying to come up to address the financing gaps in the country. I think in the paucity of time I will end here. But I can go on and on the various initiatives. Satyaki is here, Udagyan is here, and I'm sure if you have any specific queries going forward, they will be too happy to respond to them. To conclude, the positive confluence of the various initiatives being undertaken is expected to stimulate the Indian economy and put the MSMEs on growth path. Growing digital adoption by MSMEs through e-commerce platforms, use of digital payment methods and other digital tools have contributed significantly to digital footprints of the MSMEs, which has improved profiling of end users, resulting in better credit offerings and customer satisfaction. The emergence of fintech players and their collaboration partnership with traditional banks has enriched the financial ecosystem. By leveraging the public digital infrastructure in the form of India Stack, innovative solutions for facilitating finance for the MSME sector have emerged. These solutions have not only eased access to credit for MSMEs, but have also enriched underwriting by lenders. The ongoing digital finance revolution mentioned above, along with other digital interventions, namely the Account Aggregator Framework, ONDC, Open Credit Enablement Network or OCEN, shall provide further boost to the MSME sector. Once again, I am privileged to join you on this occasion. I hope we are collectively able to achieve our objective of spreading financial awareness and emerging opportunities for the MSMEs in Karnataka. Thank you.